Hi everybody, my name is Kevin. This is part of the IEOR 190G class at UC Berkeley under the topic Smartphone Patent War, week number 4. The topic is Google. So today I'm talking about an article that was published on CNET, and it's called Google Promises Fair Licensing After Closing the Motorola Acquisition. And basically it talks about how Google recently wrote a letter to the IEEE promising that they would license patents that were held by Motorola Mobility, who they're planning to acquire. They were planning to license these patents on reasonable terms and conditions that are demonstrably free of any unfair discrimination. So this basically means Google will give fair treatment to all Android handset manufacturers, and it's not going to show a bias towards any particular manufacturer. My thoughts on this article are threefold. I think first one, I think Google is now more resistant to patent litigation. Before Google, Google's operating system was based off of very similar to Apple's, and I think it didn't have a lot of intellectual property that really protected the fact that it was so similar to Apple's mobile operating system. Secondly, so basically now that Google has a bunch of patents under its belt as a part of Motorola, it can now has a bunch of 3G patents soon. It can now have some sort of downside protection whenever it's being sued, if it ever gets sued by, say, Microsoft or another big player. Secondly, I think Google can now increase their revenue in a couple different ways through licensing. Now that they own Motorola's patents, they can essentially get fees from other companies that make Android handsets. So there's a great new revenue stream for them. And thirdly, my last point is I think Motorola is now more difficult to sue. I'm just trying to think of this from a standpoint of either Microsoft or Apple. As they're suing a lot of these Android handset makers for patents, I don't know if it might not be more difficult, but it would just be more interesting for them to sue Motorola, since Motorola is directly tied to the source of of the Android operating system, which is Google. So because Motorola is so tied with Google, it might make Motorola much more difficult to sue, giving it maybe even an advantage in the marketplace. And so those are my three thoughts on the article that I read this week. Don't forget the article, the URL is in the description below. And other than that, have a great week.